As the Trump administration begins to take shape, some conservatives are reminding the new administration and Republicans in Congress about the importance of a balanced budget. One America's Hines has more on those efforts.
Principled conservatives in Congress appear determined to hold their colleagues' feet to the fire when it comes to balancing the budget. One of those true believers is former Republican presidential candidate and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who says he may not be able to support a budget that doesn't balance next year.
Well, I think that if we're fiscally conservative, we need to still be for balanced budgets. You know, a couple years ago up here, we voted for a balanced budget amendment and every Republican voted for it. But now we're in charge of all three branches of government and we'll be introducing budgets. I think they should balance. The budget that we're getting ready to vote on in early January will never balance, and I think that's a problem. I can't vote for budgets that never balance because I promised that I would come up here to do something about, the enormous accumulation of debt.
And Paul says we are accumulating that debt at the rate of about $1 million a minute. But he says his colleagues next year may be tempted to vote for a budget that doesn't balance because it could be coupled with a vote to repeal Obamacare.
Obamacare can be repealed through something called budget rescission. Comes after you vote for a budget. So many in Congress are saying, well, doesn't matter what kind of budget, we'll vote for any old kind of budget just to repeal Obamacare. Now, I do want to repeal Obamacare. I'm a physician. It's a terrible, terrible piece of legislation. I want it gone. But I'm also not willing to vote for any budget that never balances. I think you could do both.
Obamacare should go, says Paul, but he also says with the right plan, balancing the budget could be relatively simple.
Spending right now under the sequester caps, these are budget caps that limit spending, goes up at about 5% a year. Most people don't realize that we're continuing to increase spending at 5% a year, and at the same time, if you look at the debt clock, the debt is just spinning out of control. So I think we do need to freeze spending, and believe it or not, a freeze in spending would balance in about 5 or 6 years.
Paul is speaking out to conservative groups now before Congress begins to debate a long-term spending bill in January to spread the message that true fiscal conservatives must include entitlement spending in any plan to balance the budget in any meaningful way. Hines, One America News, Washington.